Hey, welcome back to the dailies. Thanks for joining back up with me. I know I've been pretty inactive in the last handful of days, but I've had a variety of needles and drills and other sharp instruments sticking in my mouth. So I've been recovering from some dental work, taking, painkillers, generally being drowsy. I took a day off work to sort of recover from that. And but I have been working, but the days I felt a little fatigued because my body's kind of trying to repair itself. So thanks for joining back up. So I'm today's Saturday, April 15th, and starting on Monday will be my last day of work at Dead River Coffee, which is where I've worked since I moved here to Michigan in 2015. So it'll be close to 2 years that I've been working at Dead River Coffee, and I'm excited about what's going to be coming around the bend in terms of other work and just the way my life is going to change. And it'll be strange to be gone from the coffee shop, I think, because my whole experience, that's been the backdrop of my whole time here in Marquette. So not having that job will sort of change my perspective a little bit. So I'm excited. I'm a little bit nervous as what's yet to come. I'm sort of looking for other options as far as work, but currently I have a couple of little hustles going on that I've talked about in this podcast before, like my job cleaning commercial spaces and also doing transcription and stuff online. So that's been cool. It's exciting. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, and that brings me kind of to what I'm wanting to talk about today, which is I've experienced this before. This once I'm about to make this big kind of a significant life change, or the sort of orientation, the way that my life is arranged is going to go through a shift. I always get this particular degree of anxiety, but also excitement. Maybe those two are the same thing or similar, or they're cousins or something. Anxiety and excitement. I guess one is worrying, and they're both looking ahead, but one is worrying. One is more of like aiming, or maybe that's the right word for it, aiming. It sort of brings out the hunter side of my personality, which is, I think inherent to humans, I would say, to varying degrees. So it gets me excited and sort of like aiming in a particular direction and on the lookout, scanning, but also this sort of worrying. So yeah, I think those two feelings are kind of cousins. I'll tell you about this one particular instance. When I was gonna leave Lafayette, I had been working this job at a chain restaurant and in the kitchen, and it was really hard work. I mean, long shifts, usually pretty busy from start to finish. Hard work, moving stuff, really fast paced. You had to make decisions under pressure, stuff like that. So I've been working there for about 6 months, and I had put my 2 weeks notice in. I was about to move to Tennessee. A lot of things were up in the air. I was getting some details worked out, and so one of my coworkers had asked me, "Oh, hey, you're moving soon, aren't you? Are you excited about that?" And I immediately lied. I don't know why, but I said, "Yeah, I'm excited about it." And then it took me a moment, and then I realized, no, I'm not excited. I'm actually scared. I'm terrified, And after I said it out loud, she was like, "Oh, well, you'll do fine." And then she walked away, and I was back at the washing dishes in the dishwashing area, and I had almost this like panic attack, and this anxiety rose, my heartbeat went up, and I was hyperventilating, and so I sort of like ran out the back door into this long hallway, and I just went pacing back there for a while. And the point was, and this was kind of a pretty significant turning point for me, just in terms of my emotional well-being, I would describe it. And that in that moment, I deliberately allowed myself to feel this feeling of real fear. And I had been avoiding that feeling because it's, you don't want to feel fear, but I had been avoiding that feeling in the, couple of months leading up to that. And it had expressed itself in some other ways, but now looking back on it, I can realize. But in that moment, I felt that it pounced on me, and when I said it out loud, I allowed it. I just then said, okay, I'm going to let myself feel this fear that I'm feeling right now. And so for about a couple of minutes, I would say 3 or 4 minutes, I was like in this really anxious state, but I was very in the present, just aware of how I was feeling and accepting it and feeling it, and that was really significant for me in the sense that now, since then, in the last, I guess that was in 2013. So since then, this feeling, when it arises, I'm able to distinguish it and acknowledge it, and then allow it, and then I can make my decision based on that. But so I sort of paced around back in this hallway for a while, and then when coming out of it, I just felt really like everything was going to be okay, and I still didn't know what the future, the near future held, and there was a lot of details that needed to be worked out. But just having allowed myself feel that series of emotions and accepting them as part of my experience really put me in a better frame of mind. And I went into that move and made all the relevant decisions with a much higher degree of certainty, because there wasn't this thing looming over me anymore. It wasn't this thing that I was like trying. It wasn't the eye of Sauron. Maybe that's a bad analogy, but I always thought about that. Like Frodo puts the Frodo puts the ring on, and then the eye of Sauron's like trained on him. But so it was always this thing that they were trying to avoid being looked at, and but then I stared right into the eye of Sauron, and so to speak, and then the fear dissipated, and I think this is something that is talked a lot about. I know I've been talking a lot about the shadow and stuff on this, but it's a really gripping idea for me for some reason. It's like if you walk towards fear directly, it tends to dissipate and or at least take some steps backwards from you. So it's really important to, if something's aiming at you and you're trying to avoid it, then it kind of has power over you, but if you aim back at something that's aiming at you, there is kind of like this like power struggle. And that can not just people, although I think that also is included in that category, but just it can even be an emotion or a particular situation that you're fearful of or you're trying to avoid or something. If you just aim directly at the thing that you're afraid of or that has control over you, then it, like, the whole dynamic changes. It changes everything in the situation, including yourself. So I'm a big proponent of, if you feel afraid or anxious about something, just allowing it in. So that's pretty much all I have to say about that today. Maybe I'll record one of these later as the day goes on, or maybe not. But thanks for rejoining back up with me after a small period of relative inactivity on the channel. Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and follow us on Twitter at GoodTimePod. So this is your host, John Davey, and you've been listening to Have a Good Time, and I hope, as always, that you have a good time.